Hello, this is Zoe at the Witchery, and today my family has cooked up 13 food items from a universe ruled by sentient dogs. That's right, we recreated the entirety of Bluey and Bingo's fancy restaurant cookbook. First off, I'm an American mother, so I'm going to shop like one and limit my search to ingredients from the #1 grocer in the US that just so happens to be the closest shop to my house, Walmart. This cookbook was made for people living on Australia, so seeing the substitute changes I have to make will be interesting. Let's get started. As I opened this book, I began to wonder who wrote this thing. They don't credit a single person as the author or chef. They don't even credit it to Ludo Studios or the Disney writing staff. So I'm just going to go ahead and credit the chefs and suppliers that are listed in the recipes. Bluey, Bingo, not Romeo McFlourish, Nana, Auntie Mary, Socks, Muffin, Pretzel, and the takeaway restaurant. But the actual in-universe cooks for these recipes are Chili, Bingo, Coco's Mom Bella, Nana, Bandit, Auntie Mary, Lucky's Dad, the takeaway restaurant, the ice cream cart, and the Pofferjess cellar. So what did our family think of the food? I was worried about this first recipe going over well with the kids because they don't usually like the taste of eggs, but they loved the omelet. I don't know if it was because the omelet was a special Bluey recipe or if omelets are just a better texture profile than regular scrambled eggs for them. Either way, it was a big plus for us. My son even asked me to make it again the next day. And yes, our first attempt did have eggshells in it, just like the show, but somehow only Dad got to find them. These looked great and tasted even better. We give this recipe 5 good neighbors. We don't have Queen's Guard salt and pepper shakers, but we do have Vikings. Unfortunately, this next recipe was the worst in the book. There were some good things about the Shadowland cupcakes. I was surprised at how bright the blue icing became, and it made for beautiful pictures. The baking was easy, and the cupcakes turned out looking as bright as you see here, but they switched out looks for flavor. These morsels tasted like plain sugar and nothing else. I always add a little extra vanilla to recipes, so the original would have been even plainer. No one chose to eat another, so unfortunately, I have to give this recipe 1 chompy alligator.
The crocodiles are gonna get us! What? There's a croc in your box! Get it out!
Which of your neighbours don't have any pets?
Singing to a liar, get it off!
Following the worst recipe in the book is the best recipe, Pofferjess, which were actually pronounced wrong in the markets episode.
Poffertjes! Poffertjes?
I can see it easily happening if they were trying to make it into a collective noun. I thought Pofferjess would be a deep fried item by how they were animated in the show, but it turned out to be so much better than that. These things tasted like a sweet, soft pretzel pancake, which is good because it is literally a mini Dutch pancake. This had to be the best recipe in the book, and everyone ate more than 3. The only downside to these is that it makes a ton. They don't reheat well, so you gotta eat them when they're hot. We give Pofferjess $5 bucks and a gold star covered with a bit of frosting.
Whoa! $5?
Plus, it has icing on it. Ow!
Nana's ice blocks was one of the recipes I didn't need to help my children with. Besides the dishes aspect, of course. I had a couple of cute popsicle designs from Amazon and was really excited to try them out. My kids were eager to have these for dessert, so when I took them out, it was a bit too early. Oh, poor bunny face. This treat is healthy and easy, but orange juice is a bit tart, and without a sprinkling of extra sugar mixed in, it was hard to consume as a popsicle. I probably should have gotten a more sugary version of orange juice like Sunny D, but I just picked out what we usually buy, like most people would. We give this recipes 2 ballerina muffins.
I don't want to be a cow! I want to be a
ballerina!
Bingo's fairy bread was another easy recipe that could have been done completely by a child, but none of mine wanted to cook. To be fair, it was a day before a birthday party, so I made it up really quickly by myself. This recipe reminds me a lot of cinnamon sugar toast. Maybe that's just the American version of fairy bread. The fairy bread was eaten completely, but without a sentimental connection, this was just more sugar bread, like the cupcake recipe. I think it could have been better by experimenting with different sprinkles or toasting the bread. We give this recipe 3 long dogs.
I love being a sausage dog!
The sausage was awesome, but we really didn't do anything besides buy that at the store and heat it up. So the real question is,
Isn't anyone going to mention the salads?
yes, Bingo. The salad was bad. But to be fair, absolutely no one in this house has ever liked red, yellow, green, or orange bell peppers, and I could have overlooked that and enjoyed just the tomatoes and lettuce with the salad dressing. But there is no way that the recipe written down here, olive oil and balsamic vinegar, is Auntie Mary's secret recipe. How are two common ingredients secret or tasty enough to be recreatable? If you want to know what Aunt Mary's true recipe is, wait to the end. We give this recipe one sad bingo.
That's okay.
Pretzel really knows what he's doing because the fish and chips recipe won first prize for being the best everyday meal. Easy enough to make on a weekday and tasty enough to be worth it. Baking was a good way to go for young chefs, and you can never go wrong with French fries. But I'm curious as to why they included a picture of fried fish and chips here. We give this recipe 5 penguins.
Oh, you're so beautiful. Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
I chose to make this dish into a single skewer because my partner is allergic to shellfish, and we haven't had the kids tested yet. So single kebab life, here we are.
Hooray!
Hooray.
I totally forgot to buy skewers, so I got innovative. I love kebabs, and these were awesome, easy to make, yet again they asked for bell peppers, so I substituted with pineapples. These are perfect for a barbecue party or a Thursday night dinner. I give this recipe 4 dance modes. We didn't choose to create our own menu because every dish sort of turned into one. With all the substitutions I had to make and having to cook some of the ingredients from scratch, it felt completed already. We went hard on pizza night. Our family has been making home-cooked pizza for years, and this simple recipe was no challenge for us. Until we made it into one, of course. So here's our bingo pineapple and ham pizza. She was as beautiful as a stick bird and lasted about as long. We give this recipe 4 husbands.
Can't have too many of these.
Ooh, you can be my husband.
This curry was the hardest recipe in the book because I could find none of the required ingredients. Rogan Josh, Walmart's never heard of you. I recreated the curry paste with its base spices. The meat was also an issue because it was all pre-seasoned. Walmart doesn't trust anyone to season their lamb apparently because it was the only meat to get this treatment. Beef, fish, chicken, they all had plain versions. The curry was very tomato heavy, so I was surprised when my partner, who hates tomatoes, loved this dish, so much that he ate it the next day. We give this recipe 3 rainbow yarns.
I wish there was a rainbow-coloured yarn.
Oh, tell me about it. I'm on a quest to find rainbow yarn.
Why does Walmart not want me to have ground chicken? Chicken is their biggest section of the meats department, and not a single one? Okay, ground turkey it is. This spring roll recipe was the most challenging, so there wasn't a lot for the little ones to do, but an upside is that everyone loved them. They were tasty enough to make again, and this time I won't forget the cornstarch step.
What's happened out here?
We give this recipe 5 fortune cookies.
Would you kids like some fortune cookies?
Thank you.
In the show, Muffin has rainbow sherbet, Bingo chooses mango ice cream, Bluey gets strawberry, and Bandit.
Oh, go on, give us a double chocolate and a cup extra large.
Hooray!
I've got a problem.
So why is the Bluey Cookbook recipe for ice cream vanilla? Don't get me wrong, it was the best ice cream I've tasted in my entire life. So we went ahead and made strawberry and mango ice cream to try and answer this question. The answer, probably, is that because of the added moisture, it doesn't freeze well. It adds extra steps, plus the fact that flavor extracts often contain alcohol, which doesn't mix with children. Vanilla is a widely loved flavor and is usually the one thought of as more mild for children, so that's probably why they chose it. But the strawberry ice cream we made was so good too. We give this Bluey recipe 5 flavors of ice cream.
Can I have 2 flavours?
This was the recipe that I was most excited to make. I had never even heard of the word Pavlova before Bluey and only had the images in the show to go off of. I thought it would be the most complicated recipe, but then they asked for a Pavlova base. So the only real cooking they think you should do here is the whipped cream. Well, Walmart didn't have meringue of any sort, so I made the base from scratch, and it wasn't that hard either. The meringue did spread out and shrink a little bit, but I think that's pretty good for a first-timer. This dessert turned out to be two in disguise. At first, when you put the cake together, the base meringue layer is crunchy, but if you let it sit in the refrigerator overnight, the cream softens the meringue and it turns the pavlova into more of a cream pie consistency. If you enjoy cheesecake, you've got to give this a try. We give this recipe 5 edamame beans.
These are edamame beans.
Oui?
Edamame beans.
Où est la discothèque?
Pavlova.
Ah, got the nod. Pavlova.
Yes.
Beans.
I'm going to use this part of the video to highlight some of the best for real life recipes and give a couple of suggestions to those that slipped on their beans. The omelette tasted great and looks exactly as pictured in the show. I would have added an additional section that suggests putting your child's favorite vegetable in the recipe to give an extra challenge to the next time you cook it. For the Shadowlands cupcakes, I'd completely change the icing recipe from plain sugar to cream cheese or vanilla. Then if you add 3 to 4 tablespoons of vanilla instead of 1 to the cupcake mix, it would taste awesome. Pa for Jess were delicious in every way. My only suggestion would be to cut the recipe in half for smaller families. The ice blocks were the simplest recipe in the book,
Ice block.
and that's fantastic for the youngest chefs. But a couple more simple steps could have made the treat tastier, like juicing an orange or using your child's favorite juice. The fairy bread was a great simple recipe. I don't think anything needs to be changed, but maybe experiment with different kinds of sprinkles.
You have to look for fairies with your heart.
My heart says they're under here. That's just tips.
It's obvious that whomever wrote this cookbook could not get their hands on Auntie Mary's salad dressing, because there is no way this and this are the same condiment. The real salad dressing would probably have balsamic vinegar, canola oil, sugar or honey, salt and pepper, and sunflower seeds in it, mixing the oil in last.
Dinner's ready.
Yeah, dinner.
The fish and chips recipe was the perfect balance between easy and delicious. I tried rainbow trout for the first time and would recommend it to anyone. The fish pictured in the background of this recipe is fried instead of baked. It wouldn't be too hard to add a crunchy layer with panko crumbs to match the picture. The kebabs tasted amazing, but a couple of substitution options never hurt, like pineapple, zucchini, or cherries. The pizza was outstanding as always.
Oh my goodness.
What is it?
This is amazing.
Hooray!
But instead of buying a crust, we made our own. Having this as an option for growing chefs would be a great addition to the cookbook. The curry crust items were very hard to find, and this was the one recipe that I had to substitute for the very most. I could only find pre-seasoned lamb leg steak, but thankfully some of the spices and the seasoning were the same ones needed for the recipe. Bye-bye, rosemary. I could not for the life of me find anything Rogan Josh flavored, not even instant ramen, so I had to create my own spice mix. After all those hurdles, the meal turned out pretty well. It ended up a little too spicy for the kids. Adding a side non-recipe would have been really nice. Once again, an ingredient that Walmart did not have. The spring rolls were the only recipe that I had to substitute a main ingredient for.
Good to know.
Even having done that, these turned out delicious, but had the most technical skills required to complete the cooking compared to the other recipes. I recommend adding a step-by-step how to fill and fold a spring roll section. The ice cream was a wondrous treat on a hot day. It was just starting to turn summer in California, and with the temperatures getting over 100 degrees, a cold recipe was definitely called for. It was the most delicious vanilla bean ice cream. My only suggestion would be to double the serving size for larger families, because it will not last long in your house. Trust me. The pavlova was terrific when I made it from scratch, which is my only suggestion, that you put the meringue recipe in the cookbook so that budding chefs can try out their skills. Kids can do it, Ludo Studios. Just give them a chance.
I'll come too. No, you can't guard the queen. Why not? You're not good at it. I am, really I am. Hooray! Dinosaurs can't talk, remember? He just neighs.
This recipe book is wonderful for families who cook with their children. They included steps in most recipes that even my 2-year-old could help with. We added 2 of these recipes to our regular cooking routine and even recommended them to our friends and family. One critique I have is that this cookbook chose healthy options and easy steps over everything else. Some of the ingredients seemed lazy, like Pavlova base, naan bread, pizza crust, when we could have easily made these from scratch. Children can be pretty capable when you give them a chance in the kitchen. And some of the ingredients chosen could have tasted better, using a kid's favorite juice.
Juice! Yeah, juice! 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 Juice!
Or squeezed fruit instead of orange juice. A flavored icing instead of plain sugar. But in the end, everyone loved the food and was willing to try it, even if it's not what they usually ate, because it was made special by Bluey and Bingo, who created this cookbook with a lot of love and are the only credited names on the cover. So thank you, Bluey and Bingo, for giving this family a grand adventure. We look forward to trying your next cookbook, if there is one. Jam and cheese sandwich? I'll let my kids be the judge of that recipe.
Blech.
See you next time at the Witchery.
Oh, that was easy. Ugh, duck cake.